Well, howdy there, Pie Pals. How y'all doing there? Old Holy Smokin' Pie Padre coming back at you. Hope you're doing well this evening. What? Okay, well, good evening. How are y'all doing? I am back again with a pipe in my hand, coffee in my elbow. Black, no cream. Oh, wow, is that good? And I'm smoking, again, one of these rare Essences Germain's plum cake. So hopefully you guys can see that. I've filming this on my, I was going to say my GoPro, but it's not. It's just my old iPad, 9.7 iPad Pro. And so I thought I'd take this time. You know what? That's that stormtrooper helmet gets my hair messed up. What little bit of hair I have left. So I'm smoking another calabash, and I don't know when I got this thing. I think this goes back to let's say probably the early Pleistocene period. Actually, is that the camera right there? Okay, there's the camera right there. Okay, let's see if I can get over here. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Hopefully it won't make too much of a difference. But anyway, so how are y'all doing? It's been a pretty nice day for the most part. Summer is definitely creeping up on us here. Now, supposedly, I haven't checked the weather report, but we might be getting some rain maybe at the end of this week. Now, of course, if we did, it would be very muggy temperatures in the next couple of days, maybe. So anyway, it's a Monday night. I'm taking a little bit of just an easy evening tonight. I almost should feel like I should be making a video outdoors. So the last video ended with my maiden flight of my new the GoPro Karma drone with the new GoPro 5 camera. I don't know if I'm quite situated here in the way I want to be. Okay, if I go that way, I need to go this way. Okay. Yeah, and I'm a little bit more centered on the screen. Okay. So, my reservations were about getting another one had to do with the restricted flying zones, and so I've been doing a little bit of research, and so I think what I decided to do is I went out and got another one. Yes, I did. But I realized that I have to be very, very judicious in where I fly it. Now, the question is, we have a couple places that probably could be really good potential places to fly the drone. In fact, one of the places that I want to try it out at is a place called Table Mountain in Oroville, which is about 20 miles down the road. And so anyway, I am planning tomorrow, my day off, is going down to there and taking the drone with me. They have a beautiful waterfall down there. It's quite dramatic looking. And I don't know if I would be able to film down there, but if I can, it would be really advantageous to, take a hike. Boy, I need the exercise. Even though I walk still, a hike would probably be really a lot better than what I've been doing. So I'm thinking that they would kind of serve two purposes. One, to three, get out in beautiful nature, take a nice walk. There's supposedly a lot of wildflowers are still up there. There's this waterfall that you can hike to, and take a few minutes of drone footage. Now, the problem with the Karma drone I was watching the old my friend from Scotland. Well, actually, I don't want to say he's my friend. I don't think he likes me very much because we have a lot of strong political he's because he's a real vegan, and I've written some things on his posts from time to time that he clearly doesn't agree with. But that's okay. But anyway, he was really ragging on people doing stupid things with drones. And I have to say that even though he was a bit harsh, he makes a good point. That even though these things look like toys, they're not toys. And one of the things that the GoPro Karma had last year's iteration, was the problem with the battery pack. The latch didn't quite secure it completely, and what was happening is, and I didn't know this, is that the latch would loosen the battery and it would break the connection, and now that thing is a falling piece of 6 pounds. So what is it, about 4 or 5 pounds? It's 200-300 feet coming down, and it hits somebody or hits a car or an animal, you could possibly kill somebody or do some great damage, or both. So he was really I'm gonna get a sip of coffee here. He made some really valid points about all drones in general, and he said, you have to really do your homework. You have to know where you can fly them, where you can't fly them. You have to know how to fly them. Now, I will say the one thing about the Karma drone, which I really like, is, and again, this was his critique too, he says it makes it so simple to fly, which it does, because it has an automatic takeoff and an automatic landing, an auto landing, auto takeoff. So the thing is that as long as you're paying attention to where you're going, and you're not flying in a restricted area, or you're doing some place where you're not supposed to, it kind of, I wouldn't say it flies itself. You got to really be paying a lot of attention. But the thing is that these things, they're still kind of in their early stages, and just like all things, they can just stop working. Technology isn't perfect, and unfortunately, sometimes we put a little too much trust in these things. And again, it's sort of like I was watching a documentary about houses in the 18th century. And, one of the things that was coming into vogue in the 18th century, the late 18th century, early 19th century, I'm sorry, the late 19th century, early 20th century, was the ability to have vibrant colors in your home. For example, I'll turn off the green screen for now and just let you see the back of the green screen. There it is. And people love this new green color that you could make all these floral patterns in England. And so, your wallpaper would be these nice, beautiful green patterns. And some of them were quite absolutely beautiful and very lovely. Made your house look a lot more opulent than maybe your actual standard of living would allow you to have, but it kind of gave you that aura of some kind of richness and gentility, and like you were on your way upwardly mobile into the upper stations, the upper classes now. And so you would have a nice home, and people would come and they'd ooh and they'd awe at these vibrant colors, especially green. Well, turned out that basically what they used to make that vibrant color, I think, was arsenic. And arsenic was actually impregnated in the wallpaper, and so when you'd heat the home, or it would just be a warm day, the fumes, the toxic arsenic fumes, would start coming off of the wallpaper, and people were getting ill. They didn't understand. Well, I don't feel good, and I feel really kind of run down and tired. Well, they were getting arsenic poisoning. Sad to say, many of them actually died. They died of it. So again, and there are a lot of other things that people, our technology would grow beyond a certain point where it was really safe. Like when you introduced light bulbs, light sockets, people would, string together 10 and 15 different light sources, and you'd have these horrible electric fires. So in many ways, the things that we have that we kind of enjoy are our tech toys and things like that. There may be some hidden health hazards that we're not quite aware of today. Some people have talked about the problems with cell phones, and maybe some of that radiation frying your brain cells. Could be, or maybe it's not a good idea to constantly have, as I do, your iPhone in your pocket. God knows what it's doing to my heart. Of course, I don't have one, so I'm okay there. But anyway, but all life is hazardous. We all know that. But the thing is that you don't want to be somebody else's, heartbreak, because you're flying your drone, and it, loses power abruptly, and then it comes hurtling down, and crowns somebody on the head, and either they die outright, or they're now, quadriplegic because you've broken their spine, or their neck, or whatever. Or you kill a pet, or somebody just gets PO'd at you because they think you're spying on them. That's another thing. People, oh, you're spying on me with that damn drone, and they shoot it out of the sky. And there goes several $100 right down the tube. Wow. Ooh, that felt pretty good. Don't know what that was, but that was pretty good. I know that I've never really inhaled tobacco. I've always been afraid to do that because I'm a wimp, but I'm more afraid that I'd like it way too much, and that would be the next level. That would be addiction for me, because once I started doing that, I had a good buddy of mine who was an inveterate pipe smoker for years, and I always loved it when he smoked a pipe because it reminded me of my brother Earl, but he actually inhaled his pipe. He actually inhaled that sucker, but anyway, and I know some people do. I don't know very many people that do, but I can just that little tab. Woo! I was like, oh, okay, wow, okay, that's why they do that. Okay, but I'm not one to, I don't have a lot of good respiratory stuff. I have a lot of, sometimes problems with bronchitis. Now, for several years, I haven't, and now that I have am now, okay, I've been in the plant-based community for the most part for a little over 2 months now. And I haven't really lost any weight. In fact, I have probably gained a couple of pounds, because the reason why is because I've been eating lots of grains. Not the salads like I'm supposed to be eating, although I do eat those, but not like I should. Because I've been kind of experimenting with different types. There's the Dr. Furman diet, which I originally was starting off with. And mostly that's beans and seeds, beans and wheat, beans and salad. Greens and beans, as he calls it, which I love. And then I discovered some other plant-based people, like people from the Dr. Esselstyn camp, and then there was, of course, Dr. McDougall, and his is all about potatoes. I love the way he says potatoes. Potatoes, corn, rice, and beans, and vegetables. He's also into vegetables too. Well, it's all plant-based. They're all plant-based, but one is a little bit more. You allow yourself some grains. Well, I like rice. People also used to think I was Chinese or Japanese because I like sushi and rice so much. Still do. But anyway, but Dr. McDougall says there's a couple reports that says that there have been people who actually have lost dramatic amounts of weight by just eating potatoes and some vegetables. But I've been eating bread and rice and other grains, grainy crackers, Oh man, I love that stuff. But no, I gotta really curtail that. So anyway, he's been talking about Dr. McDougall. He has lots of videos online. You can check him out. Well, there was a study, well, actually not a study, but I mean a real life thing where this couple actually lived on potatoes for 6 months, and they said two things. One, they were in perfect health. The only thing is they did have to have a little bit of honey. I guess they introduced a little bit of honey and some other vegetables, cooked vegetables. But primarily it was a potato-based diet. Now again, you have to remember, You don't add oil or butter or salt or any of that stuff on your baked potatoes. But you can have baked potatoes. You can have boiled potatoes. You can have mashed potatoes. You can have, yesterday for my dinner, I just had those potato waffles that you make. Again, no butter, no oil, no salt, but you can put pepper on them. I eat them a little bit with the hummus. You can put some salsa on them. You can make even homemade salsa. But anyway, so yesterday I kind of started this. So, but today I got up and I felt great, and I said, I'm just going to just basically do my meals are going to be salad, greens, and potatoes. So I'm going to try this for at least a month and just see just where I'm at. Again, no sugar, no salt, no oil, no dairy, of course, and no animal products. And this time I'm going to really curtail the grains. I probably won't do, like I was doing a lot of bean burritos with flour tortillas, and I'm sure that just wasn't conducive to any kind of form of weight loss. So, but anyway, I want to, what I'm looking for is just to feel good and kind of lose the extra pounds that I've gained, and see if I can do it on a plant-based, a true, strict, plant-based. But the other thing is, I don't want to be in a deprivation kind of thing. I mean, I can lose 20 pounds, and I know how to do that, but it's hard, and it requires an awful lot of, fasting. And I still like, eating late in the afternoon and having an early dinner now, and trying not to snack at night. Now, I did add a couple of handfuls of blueberries, and they say blueberries are excellent antioxidants. So we're going to just try that. And then again, I will have some fruits, an apple maybe in the morning. That's always been a good thing for me. So anyway, that's what I'm trying to do now. So, and I'm going to eventually try to get back to the exercise, the push-ups and the pull-ups again. But I just have not been feeling that great. And again, I'm not going to hammer. You're going to get drone on about this. I'll just drone on my Karma drone. That's what I'll do. So anyway, I just thought I'd get on here and make a video. But so anyway, as far as the drone goes, coffee time. I was really happy with the first aerial footage that I was able to capture with the camera. The camera, the new GoPro has the back, has the little view screen on the back. Now the older one, the one I had from about 4 years ago, you could buy the view screen additionally and plug it in, and it worked really well. But it was an additional accessory, and it made the camera a little bit thicker. This one's all built in, but the one I got originally with the drone, the screen didn't work. You couldn't really, you could turn it on, and I guess it did work, but you couldn't control it. The little sensor in the front, that was sort of, they'd say, well, if the screen doesn't work, well, the screen should work, it's brand new, okay? And they said, well, you can do it the old traditional way. On the old GoPros, they have the little screen on the front where you could go into the settings. That wouldn't even work. But the camera, for some reason, actually did work in the drone, but it didn't work as far as a regular. I mean, you could turn it on, but you couldn't see anything. You couldn't, the only time you could see something is when it was connected to the actual Karma drone, and you had that handheld, which I really like. That handheld controller is great. Now, some of the things about the drone, again, the safety issues were that the latch would come loose in mid-flight and lose power, and it would just fall, okay, which is very dangerous. And as Don Bauer would say, there were other things that people needed to really know about before you really start flying these things. And again, one of the things that he really made very abundantly clear, of course, this guy lives, I don't think he lives in the Highlands of Scotland, but he lives in Scotland, and there's a lot of rural places and places where it's safe to fly drones. So anyway, Dom, also he's a very big into photography. He's a professional photographer, so he knows a lot about these things. So he said that the problem with the GoPro is that it is so simplistic that an idiot can fly it. So, and he said that because of the ease of the contraption of this instrument, that people get lulled into a false sense of, oh, I can do this. This is easy. Well, it's not. I mean, it is and it isn't. It's easy enough to get yourself into a lot of trouble. And so he said you really have to know, you have to really know what you're doing before you start really, taking this thing on long distance trips. Now, it'll go up to about 2 miles. And the other thing that is a problem with the GoPro is that the battery life is like roughly, they say it's 20 minutes. It's more like 16 minutes. In other words, once you get to a certain point, and this is what Dom says, you can maybe take it out, but once it gets around 51%, you need to start bringing that thing back home. You can't be, lollygagging around. You got to really start your basic your return. And because again, if it runs out of power, you can't control it. And it's sort of like, I guess, when a bullet leaves a gun. The moment that bullet's gone, it's gone. You have no more control over it. So you have to really be thinking all the time. You have to there's wind out there sometimes, just like with an airplane. There's wind shear. He said something as simple as a leaf. If you get too close to a tree and maybe a leaf just happens to fall at the wrong time and hit one of those little propellers, it can, either maybe not damage it, but it could, or if it does damage it, one propeller goes down, the thing flips over, and you're out of control. So again, there's a lot of things to be aware of, and I'm kind of glad I watched his video because he was very, very forthright and critical, but in a good sense about, hey, these things are not toys. And so anyway, and he was going through and watching some people fly drones, and he says, this is an idiot. They're flying it in their backyard. I almost did that. I thought, well, I just fly it in the backyard a little bit. And he says the problem is that, and iJustine, I think many people know who iJustine is. Really, I mean, I have to say, I think she's adorable. What's there not to like? She's this really fun, effervescent woman. I guess she's actually 31 or 32. She looks like a little. Well, she doesn't look like a little girl, but she looks like a young. But she's a young person still. And if you've seen her videos, you know what I'm talking about. They're very lighthearted and kind of they're nothing serious, but they're a lot of fun. She does a lot of tech reviews in her own way. But I remember seeing the one where she was flying the drone, and I was thinking, oh, isn't that cute? And she breasted up her drone. Oh, too bad. But when Dom Bauer was critiquing it, he said, this gal's stupid. What an idiot. I mean, this is a dangerous thing that she's trying to play with, and she has no concept of what she's really doing. And then he had another guy, Casey Neistat or some guy in New York, and he goes, oh, what an idiot. He goes, he's going out here for the very first time in a public park with people all around, and he's learning how to fly a drone. You don't learn how to fly a drone like that. That's just dangerous. He says you want to be in open spaces. You want to know you want to know how to do this thing before you even take off. You got to go through. Now the GoPro does have some little video tutorials. They're like little tutorials. They're what am I going to say? They're let me get my pipe going here again. They're virtual reality. It's sort of like you're playing a video game. So even though you're not really flying the drone, you're flying a video, a virtual version of the actual flight controls. So you can do that. So anyway, they have a lot of, and other people have talked about comparing it with other, like the Phantom 4 and stuff like that. Phantom 4 is probably a lot better machine for stabilization. It has some other sensors which help navigate and keep it a little bit more, give you a little more control in the air. So anyway, but I think the Karma, for me, it is a basic one. It works, and it is easy to use. Once you know what you're doing, it's pretty good. And plus, it's in the GoPro ecosystem, so you can interchange it with other GoPro products, which makes it kind of nice. And then plus, it comes with a backpack, and you can carry additional batteries and stuff. So what I might do is get another battery, charge that up, and then see about going to a place called Table Mountain, like I said earlier. If I do, I'll try to include the footage. But yeah, I guess in some ways it's like flying a kite, but it's sort of like taking that to the next level. If you like flying kites, or maybe glider airplanes, or just it's literally this whole concept of something like that on steroids. So I think once you kind of get into it, you get bit by it, and you really kind of really like it. I mean, I really enjoyed my time flying that thing, and if the camera had, I have to say, if the camera probably had worked, it would have been a little bit harder for me to take it back. But because the camera was defective, that's why I did take it back. But then talking to that guy at the store, and him saying, they're really cracking down on where you can fly them. So if it turns out that you can't fly this thing, I still have like 14 days to return it. So, but if I can take it to some nice areas, beautiful, country, wide open spaces, and I can do it, then I'll feel like, okay, I can justify it. It's worth it. Mm. Oh, this plum cake again has a wonderful licorice uh, hint to it. It smells nice. It tastes good. But again, it's almost like, when I think about pipe smoking and drone flying, well, there's a lot of similarities, and I think I even touched on that in my last video, is because you're out in the public, the days are gone when you could just simply go for a walk with a pipe. I mean, I guess this is getting to where it kind of gets into the whole politically correct issues that I've talked about before on my videos, and sometimes I kind of rue the fact that we live in a society that if somebody doesn't like something, they're going to shut you down. And when I was growing up, there were a lot of people that did a lot of things, and either you liked it or not, and you just if I don't know. It just seems there were always people that had different opinions, different viewpoints, different lifestyles. And for the most part, it was kind of more of a live and let live kind of thing. If you were respectful of other people, and you kind of just, you had your own life, you lived your life, as long as you weren't trying to impose your belief system on other people, most people would be, okay, they disagreed with you, they supported you, they supported you. But now we're in a whole completely different milieu of where if people don't like your opinion, they want to shut it down. In other words, when political correctness kind of runs amok, it's like, well, again, people would look down on people that smoke pipes. I'm sure they do. But as long as I'm not, trying to say that everybody has to be pipe smokers, because you don't know how wonderful this is. This is a great hobby, and I mean, I could share my hobby with people, and people can take it or leave it. But now we live literally in a culture that kind of wants to outlaw certain things. We don't like smoking. We don't like people talking on their cell phones. We don't like people flying drones. We don't like people vaping. We don't like people, whatever. It just, it kind of, after a while. I mean, if a person is being responsible, it's like me. I choose not to drink, and that's my choice. And if somebody wants to drink, that's their choice, and I don't look down on them. I might say, if they're having a problem with it, I'll say, I had a problem with it. If you ever want to talk about it with me, I'll be glad to listen. But as far as me looking down on you and saying you shouldn't do that, well, I'm not going to say that. I mean, There are a lot of people that can have a glass of wine with a meal once or twice a night, or maybe once or twice a month, or maybe once or twice a year, and it's not a problem. For me, a couple bottles of wine a night, I didn't think that was a problem, but it was a problem. And I'm glad the people that love me enough had the love to tell me, you know what, this isn't good for you. You're hurting yourself, and it was. If I woke up every morning, the first thing I did is I grabbed for my pipe and I started inhaling it, and I did that all throughout the day, every day of the week, I got a problem. If I'm flying a drone and I see a plane coming and I launch it because I want to crash it into a plane and watch the plane come down, that's a problem, okay? Or if I want to use it to do something nefarious like spy on people, which I can't see why. I don't even know if you could. Well, I guess you could. But anyway, that's to be honest with you, trying to spy on somebody with these drones, I don't think it's going to really, unless they were really stealthy, and like I said, if they got a quiet mode, and you couldn't hear them, and you had like an infrared, or you had some kind of a super special lens where you could zoom in and really see people, whatever, if you were spying on them, I guess that would be pretty bad. But most drones are pretty noisy. Even the Karma is actually one of the quieter ones. They say that's one of its pluses. It's actually, it still makes a noise. But anyway, it's not that bad. But again, if you're just flying a drone because you're taking aerial footage of some beautiful, expanse of canyons and mountains and wildflowers, and the other thing too is I heard somebody say, well, the reason why they won't let you use them in some places is because they're afraid that hunters will use them as an unfair advantage to either scare animals and try to I guess it's sort of like on the 12th of August when they do the big grouse hunting. They have people called beaters, and I guess they go through a certain area and they scare the quail or whatever it is, the grouse, in a certain direction towards the hunters, so the hunters can have something to shoot at. And I think that there was a thing that they said, if you try to use it to intimidate animals so you can kill them, you're for hunting. Of course, I don't know. If you're a hunter, and again, even though I know I'm probably sounding like a real schizophrenic person. Again, here I am trying to be a plant-based person, and I am. I love animals. I love, but again, I don't think this is something I've always been wanting to kind of bring up in one of my videos about the whole vegan versus, omnivores debate. Is that okay? Let's say that, the whole world tomorrow, again, it's outlawed. You can no longer, have animals for food. In other words, the animal industries will be shut down. Okay, let's just say that, and you have like 2 or 3 months, and that's it. After a certain date, there will be no more animal processing, and you can't eat meat anymore. Well, my question is, what do you do with the meat that's already in your store shelves today? You're just going to let it rot and go to waste? Now that's a sin, I would say. That's terrible. Again, if you don't like killing animals and you have a problem with that, then I understand that. But I think it's also disrespectful for the animals that have already been culled and killed and processed to let their source of energy and nourishment for other people go to waste. That would be a sin on top of a sin, okay? So again, I'm not trying to justify eating animals per se, but I am saying that I think it's also wrong to allow the animals that have already been killed to not have a purpose of feeding people. So I think that would be just as bad to let all that meat go to waste. That would be terrible. So I was thinking, well, okay, there are a lot of people that have ethical issues about not eating animals anymore, and that's fine. But what about the meat that's in your grocery stores now? would it be right to let that go to waste? And somebody says, well, you can feed it to lions and tigers in the zoo. Well, don't think all the tigers and lions in the zoos are going to eat up all that meat. Okay, there's billions and billions and millions of processed animals, and I don't think you could give them some of it, but they're not going to be able to consume all of it. And I know some people say, well, you could freeze most of it and then just, you could do that. Well, maybe you could, but there are a lot of starving people in the world, so why not feed them for a while and until the supply runs low or runs out, and then if you wanted to be grain-based and plant-based and force that on the rest of the world, well, there you go. But I think to let the animals that have already been readied for market, to let that go to waste would be just as bad, if not worse in some ways. So anyway. I'll hopefully maybe tomorrow get a chance to go out and play with the new drone with the new. Of course, you know what? I'm a little concerned right now because the camera that I got has replaced the old drone and its old camera. Got just the camera by itself. I'm starting to get a little bit of a nagging feeling like, supposing my camera won't work with the drone. Because see, when I bought the original, it came with everything, even though that camera didn't work. I'm just wondering if I plug this into the drone, that whatever the software reads, and because it's all married up to so that all supposedly works together, but maybe it turns some function off because again it's trying to send its data, I guess, its imagery to the controller. And that's what I'm thinking. That's probably the problem, is that it wants to give you the image on the controller as opposed to the viewfinder on the actual camera. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of going, supposing I plug that thing in and the screen goes blue, the blue screen of death again. I can't get the viewfinder back for just basic GoPro stuff. And the only way I can look at a viewfinder is on the controller. So now I'm starting to think about that. Oh boy. Well, we'll find out tomorrow. Again, there's a lot of setup to go with the GoPro Karma drone. You can't just open it up and start flying it. You've got to power everything on. You got to, got to charge the batteries. There's like two main batteries: the battery for the drone itself, the battery for the controller, and also the battery for the gimbal stick. They have one of those in there too. Well, we'll see. I'm not going to play with it now. I'm just charging the batteries tonight. That's all I'm going to do. And we'll see what happens tomorrow when I actually hopefully get a chance to really take it out and fly it in the wide open spaces. So that's basically all I wanted to share with you tonight. I wanted to get on here and just make a video and say hello to everybody. Thanks for a lot of your comments. I tried to answer a few comments the other day. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the video all the way to the end. I haven't actually checked on comments from that video. I had a few people I actually had a few comments, early comments, but I wonder if people actually saw the end footage, because I saved that for the very last. So maybe some people didn't go all the way to the end. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, I don't know. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and have a nice evening. I'm going to say arrivederci, guten Nacht, Buona Natale. No, that's Christmas. That's Happy Christmas. Buonasera, so buenas noches, and we'll talk to you on the next video. So take care, and light up your world, light up your pipe. See you soon. Bye-bye. Hopefully this was working.